All right, good morning. Welcome to the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors meeting. It is 9:05. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for the Stanislaus County Public Works Deputy Director, Colin Yersey. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to go a little bit off script while we start this moment of silence this morning. We are doing this moment of silence in dedication of our Stanislaus County Public Works Deputy Director, Colin Yersey. I want to recognize that we do have some members of his family here with us this morning. His wife Maggie has joined us, his son Christian, his mom and dad, Ann and Fred, as well as his brother Scott. For those of you who had not worked with Colin, I'm sure many of you gathered in this room, I noticed worked with Colin, and you're here to support this moment of silence. We definitely appreciate that. Just to share a couple of tidbits, although he was only with our organization for a shorter period of time, he demonstrated himself to be an absolute true professional, every bit of what we enjoy in Stanislaus County leadership here, and has left an enduring mark on our entire organization, most notably those folks that he worked the closest with that referred to him as a true professional and couldn't have wished for a better colleague in our Public Works Department. So we appreciate all of you gathering. We're going to have a brief moment of silence on Colin's behalf, and when we're done with that, we'll go ahead and proceed with our invocation. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Please welcome Pastor Stuart Welch, the pastor at Life Connection Church. Pastor, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you all. If you would bow your heads with me. Father God, we do thank you, praise and magnify your holy name. We invite you into this place, your presence and your power. Pray over this Board of Supervisors meeting, for you said, Lord, how wonderful, beautiful it is for us to dwell together in unity. We also pray for brothers' family, pray their strength, God, encouragement. People would come around them and support them. In the marvelous name of Jesus, we pray. Thank God. Amen.
Amen. All right, please be seated. And God bless the entire Yersey family. Thank you all for being here this morning. Our hearts are with you. We are mourning with you all and our Public Works team. Colin was a huge asset to our county, and he will not be forgotten. God bless you.
Thank you so much. He definitely loved working with all of you, and this means a lot that you guys did this. Thank you so much.
We mourn with your family. Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 4, presentation, February 2023 as Black History Month in Stanislaus County. I'd like to welcome NAACP President for Stanislaus County, Wendy Bird. Ms. Bird, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'd like to, I know that we're here to receive a proclamation, and I'd just like to say a few words, if I may. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for always acknowledging Black History Month. And I realize that although we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, it really means a lot to be acknowledged and to be acknowledged for your accomplishments. I think that when Carter G. Woodson invented Black History Month, he did that because he understood the relationship between accomplishments and self-esteem. Whenever you accomplish things, it makes you feel good. And throughout the years, African Americans have accomplished so much. For example, just in this morning, you've already interfaced with many, many inventions of from African Americans, all the way from the refrigerator to the ironing board to the traffic light to fire extinguishers in this room to the washing machine, dryer, The list goes on and on and on. And we hope that one day we will really achieve success by not having to have Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month. We hope that we achieve success by implementing ethnic studies in all of the schools, by implementing diversity and equity where it's visible in every workplace and understood and a part of every plan. So until we get there, we appreciate what you've done. And I want to say, too, that we also really would like for the county to know that our African American organizations and leaders are very, very interested in collaborating more and working more with the county on creating not African history, but future history. One of the things I can say is that with the African American community, we're very scattered because we don't have a hub. We don't have a Black Chamber of Commerce. We don't have a building. The NAACP doesn't have a building or an office. And so one of the things that we feel would really make a difference is to have an African American cultural center where all of the organizations can come together and where there's an identifiable, understood message for anyone that comes to town that that's a place where I know I can find Black culture. And Black culture is not just for Black people, it's for white people. It's for everybody. And just think of how much we are doing a disservice to our youngsters when we don't teach them the totality of history and the accomplishments of everyone. So with that said, I'd like to ask some of the other community leaders that are here to come forward to help accept the proclamation, beginning with Mr. John Irvin from Sankofa. Fallon Fairs, the co-founder of Youth Empowerment Program. Akia Walker, the executive director of Stanislaus Youth Empowerment Program. Ron DeLoach, the chairman of the West Modesto People of Action Council. Margie Lee, the founding members of the Women Auxiliary. Reverend Dr. Darius Crosby, chief correspondent, Modesto Police Clergy Council. Ms. Ruby Kennedy, member of the King Kennedy Center Senior Group, and Sterling Fountain, the vice president of the King Kennedy Memorial Center Board of Directors. So I think we have everybody.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bird. We greatly appreciate your contribution. And I do have a copy of the proclamation for each of you. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for your dedication to our residents here and for your quest for justice and equality. And I stand shoulder and shoulder with you in that fight.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comment. This is a time for those in attendance to speak on items not related to the agenda. When you come to the podium, please state your name for the record. Direct all comments towards the dais. And so it is fair for every speaker. Keep comments to a 5-minute time limit. So do we have those in attendance who would like to speak during public comment? I have a couple cards here. All right, Mr. Donoso, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing this morning?
Fine, sir.
Good to see you.
Cold but fine. Mr. Chairman, I want to speak in regard to the Public Works Department, in regard to the $60 million that is not being shared or informed to the community in regard to the why the latest information and engagement, not only to give you a flyer, but at the same time inform the community, English and Spanish, what the latest activities from that department in regard to the $60 million for the infrastructures in the different communities. At the same time, Mr. Chairman, I want to see if the work department, public departments under the Executive Order 13985, and the same time Executive Order 13166, as in regard to the limited English proficiency, if have any contract or subcontract is supposed to apply that in regard to the federal and state money, specific federal money. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Donoso. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. I do have one item here that is being removed from consent. It is item 6B3. Do any board members wish to pull any items from consent? Okay, seeing none, do any members of the public wish to pull any items from consent? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and we'll discuss item 6B3, and then we'll take consent calendar all at once. Mr. Donoso, I have a comment card from you on item 6B3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issue behind this regard to the Stanislaus equal partnership is that the report is excellent report, no question about it. But at the same time, I don't know who's person in regard to the staff who can answer that, but I'm going to give you the question to you. The information is here. Number one, under the federal guidelines is not any language that we can have access and receive this information publicly. It's not in the library, it's not in the nonprofit agency to understand what is this agency really doing. It's not in Spanish or other language. Mr. Chairman, under the Executive Order 13166, the limited English proficiency is an executive order to mandate, especially in regard to different contract, subcontract the federal government have. And this agency is a nonprofit and have the obligation to inform the community, and that's not happening. At the same time, the second issue is the Mrs. Rocha is in the board of directors of this nonprofit. At the same time, she has the payee. She's paid a person to sign the documents when they receive the money. And under the conflict of interest, that's a conflict of interest, openly. She's not supposed to, she can be in the board of directors, but she cannot be a person that pay for this agency the amount of money they requested. So that's very questioning, and I have the county council see that issue, because that's a big conflict. One thing is that ex-official be a member, and sometimes have conflict of interest, but one thing is to be the payee person. They sign the documents and receive the money or send the money to this organization. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I know me, you, and Mr. Bose have a meeting coming up regarding those executive orders.
Thank you.
So we'll be meeting soon. Thank you. Does any other members of the public wish to comment? Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Corinne Whitlow, just kind of singing the same tune. Feels inappropriate that we're spending COVID money, respiratory virus emergency money on equity partners to facilitate low-cost housing, land use, and in here it does say, while target goals and objectives represented the fundamental intention of this agreement, the proposed activities may change over time, and don't include the exhaustive list of activities. Just seems concerning that we're spending money on a respiratory virus on housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Does any other members of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board for any comments or a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Buck-Condit and a second by Supervisor Chiesa. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously, 5-0. Okay, moving on to discussion items. We have a PowerPoint presentation by Christine Huber and Richard Daniels. And this is in regards to the approval to relinquish administration of the California Department of Social Services, Stage 2 and 3, Child Care Program as of July 1st, 2023. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Community Services Agency is here today requesting your approval to relinquish our contracts with the California Department of Social Services for Stage 2 and 3 Child Care Stipend Payment Programs, which would be effective July 1st, 2023. Community Services Agency provides subsidized child care payments for parents who are engaged in work activities under the California Work Opportunity and Responsibility to Kids program, better known as CalWORKs. This subsidized child care payment program is a benefit to our community and the families who live here in that they can qualify for subsidized child care from the time they engage in work activities through the completion of those activities and through their self-sufficiency as they become self-sufficient and no longer remain in our CalWORKs programs. Stanislaus is currently the only county in California administering all 3 stages, and recent state changes make it challenging for a county department to efficiently administer the Stage 2 and 3 child care stipend program. In fiscal year 2021-2022, the state made some changes with Stage 1 child care, which included separating the funding for Stage 1 from our CalWORK single allocation, which made it an entitlement program that covers 100% of the cost with state and federal funding. They also gave the county or the contractor the ability to define stability for CalWORKs families, and Richard will explain a little bit about that. And then CDSS, there were some changes in the funding methodology that incentivizes counties to align their CalWORKs child care services with Stage 1, which is an open-ended allocation, versus the capped contracted Stage 2 and 3 contracts.
So customers become eligible to Stage 1 once they've entered the CalWORKs program. They remain eligible until they're considered stable. Every county, the state has given the latitude for every county to define the term stability. Previously, Stanislaus County simply said to secure stable child care. Effective September 1st, 2022, Stanislaus County Community Services Agency changed the definition to customer has secured stable child care, has been discontinued as a CalWORKs recipient for 3 months. This change in definition allowed us to be more congruent with majority of counties throughout the state. Once a customer becomes stable under the county's definition, they move on to child care Stage 2. That child care Stage 2, they can remain there for up to 24 months, or if their income exceeds the income limits. Stage 3 child care begins the 25th month after they're discontinued from CalWORKs, and again can continue until they receive until their income exceeds the limits, or that child turns 13 years old. For Stage 1 child care, the maximum Stage 1 funding, it's an entitlement program. It's not subject to annual allocation for eligible customers. The average caseload for Stage 1 nearly doubled when we defined or had the new term for stability, which Stage 2 caseload decreased by almost 40%. Currently 189 cases consisting of approximately 364 total children are currently being served in Stage 1. For Stages 2 and 3, approximately 186 cases consisting of 342 children are currently being served. Stanislaus County is the only county contracted for Stages 2 and 3 child care. And in other counties, CDSS contracts with County Department of Education or other community providers. Relinquishing administration of Stages 2 and 3 to other providers further along the self-sufficiency continuum allows CSA to focus on their core programs and the families working to transition from CalWORKs. So what this means, for our fiscal area, starting with fiscal year 2024, ongoing appropriations and anticipated revenues will only be budgeted for Stage 1 child care program. Stage 1 child care program is an entitlement program with no set allocation amount, and the state reimburses all costs associated with the administration of Stage 1 child care program, including staffing costs. For staffing, relinquishing the administration of Stages 2 and 3 would require the reassignment of one FSS or one Family Services Specialist 2 and one Family Service Specialist 3 staff to other areas within the StanWorks division currently funded with CalWORKs, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal allocations. Current fiscal staffing would remain status quo, including 2 vacant positions. For the community, Stages 2 and 3 child care and the funding associated with these programs would remain available for Stanislaus County families to assess or access through the new vendor. CSA will work directly with CDSS and the new vendors to seamlessly transition the 186 families that include 342 children to ensure the continuity of care, child care services. This would include our department ensuring that we do not stop services if they are unable to locate a vendor within that time frame. So we continue to provide those services.
So our recommendation today is approval for the Community Service Agency to relinquish the administration of the California Department of Social Services Stage 2 and 3 child care programs.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation. Does any board members have any comments or questions? Terry?
Just real quick, Christine, just sorry. This is kind of clear as mud for me, sorry. Trying to figure this out. But it kind of sounds like we're just going to contract this out now instead of providing the service ourselves. Is that correct? Am I understanding that for all 3 stages of this service for child care?
So CSA would still administer Stage 1, and that's provided to the families that we currently serve in our CalWORKs programs.
Okay.
We have a separate contract with Department of Social Services for Stage 2 and 3. So CDSS will contract with somebody here locally, like a Department of Education or another community-based organization, to then issue the subsidized child care payments to the vendor or to the child care provider. We see in other communities that it's a much more friendly environment for families to get connected with community providers since they're no longer connected with Community Service Agency. And so they could work, we see in other counties when it's Department of Education, that they also have resource and referral and other subsidized child care programs. So it allows the families to get connected in the community and receive their services there.
Okay, and it sounds like we're the last county in the state of the 58 that are still doing this way. And ultimately, this is going to be a better service. It sounds like we think we're going to end up that the recipients of this service will get a better service than what they're getting right now. Is that right? Is that kind of?
Yes, we believe so.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I'm just sorry. Sorry.
I agree with you.
And also, I'm just thinking, in our Stanislaus 2030, one of the criteria, one of the areas that we're talking about is trying to get childcare so that individuals can work. I mean, I know in my own office, it's a constant fight for our employees trying to find childcare, and so I just want to make sure we're not making it harder for anybody. We're actually trying to make this easier and a more efficient and a better service for families to be able to have childcare so they're able to work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'm glad you said that, clear as mud. It is, there are so many programs out at CSA, and I visited last week, the week before, with senior leadership, and there's so many programs going on there, and trying to understand each one of them. This is just another cog in the wheel. I think you cleared up with your questions. Does it have to be, a couple of questions, does it have to be another government agency, or can it be private that is providing the services? That would be the first question.
It could be a government or public agency, or it could be like a nonprofit, community-based organization.
And do you, when you see the 57 other counties that are doing this, are most of them with another government agency or with private enterprise? Or have you?
So most of the counties actually engage with other community-based organizations, or not the counties themselves, but the state has contracted with CBOs in those counties, majority of the time. Other times, it's usually the Office of Education located in that county.
And because it's CDSS that's going to do the contracting with the vendor, do you have any say in who they choose? Or is it through an RFP process? And
We do not, so it'd be through the RFP process.
Okay. So, and it looks like we're continuing to maintain the majority of the staffing, and that is because Stage 2 and Stage 3, there may be a lag time, and we still need that, but are we going to continue with the full staffing, all the allocated positions that we've been utilizing for Stage 1, 2, and 3?
So we did have, in the presentation, we are moving some of the positions over to other allocated spots within our agency that are currently funded with CalWORKS, CalFresh, Medi-Cal. But the majority of the funding will be there, majority of the staffing will remain the same because we changed our definition of stable, allowing more families to remain in Stage 1 longer.
Okay.
And that allowed us the opportunity to maintain the staffing levels.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, just to follow up, one last thing. Oversight of those non-governmental agencies, community-based organizations, is there oversight of those groups that are providing the child care? I'm sure there is. I know there's licensing, there's all kinds of things that goes on. Just
So Department of Social Services will oversee the contractors. The goal that Department of Social Service has is they have other subsidized child care programs that they contract with. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
okay, sounds like you got one cough.
Yes. That they try to contract with other community groups that are already providing subsidized child care programs that they contract with. Because the goal is, again, for families to, if they don't qualify for one program, they might qualify for another subsidized child care program. So to have, one area, one place to go that they can be evaluated for all child care programs.
Okay, thank you.
Doug?
Thank you, Chairman. Christine, Richard, thank you for your report. What is actually causing this change? Is it strictly the change in the definition of stability, or is it just trying to be more efficient?
I would say a combination of both. So the change in definition of stability really focuses on our core programs and aligning that with the other counties throughout the state, allowing us to work with families while they're a CalWORKS family. Once that transition from CalWORKS occurs, majority of counties have found that it's more efficient for that family to then access services outside of the welfare department.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and open this item to the public. I have one speaker card, Mr. Donoso.
Thank you, sir. I have a question for Mr. Chairman from the staff through your leadership. Under the CalWORK, the 186 cases, how many are the demographic in regard to the Mexican American, African American, Asian American? Do you have that information, sir?
So he needs to address his questions over here.
Okay.
So we'd be happy to follow up with you, Miguel. I don't know that we're prepared today with demographic information in the presentation, but if you could address your questions to the dais, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. And how the families are requested or selected to participate, because many of the families, Mexican and Latinos, no understand between the social worker and intake worker or assessment worker. And many times the guys don't request, you have the need in regard to mental health or social service for the social worker, no understand, you think the intake worker or assessment worker is the social worker. So that part they have to be very clarified constantly, and that not happen because I have a lot of friends that go over there and very confused in the sense of who is your assessment or the intake worker, and then never ask if I need mental health or any issue regard to the social status of my family. You can understand that that person is not a social worker. So that's very important. And the number 3 is the information they need to understand is under the Demini alla Torre Bilingual Service Act. It's supposed to communicate a person in the language over 5% of the language of the high concentration of the client. And the last part I want to ask, of the 16 employees, how many are bilingual biculturally you want to hire or continue to hire in the process?
So you could address your questions up here. So I'll just state for those who might be listening that we provide all of our services at the Community Services Agency in a multitude of languages, not just English and Spanish, but many other languages as well, reflecting the needs of our community. If you're ever familiar with a situation where someone feels like they're not connecting or they're having difficulty connecting with those services, we would love for you to reach out to us and let us know who that is to make sure that we get them the help that you may have learned that they're not getting. But just to be clear, we do offer all of these services in both English and Spanish, as well as many other languages in the community.
I understand, sir, but my question is, from these 16, how many of these 16 are bilingual bicultural? That's the question, sir. Not in regard to, yes, we provide a service. That's different from the, how many of these 16 people they're going to be hired or continue to be hired are bilingual bicultural, whatever the language is. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Miguel. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to comment on this discussion item? Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to the board. I just want to thank you guys so much for your presentation today. You know, having a 6-year-old and a 7-month-old, I know how important child service is, and it's absolutely essential so that we can function and go to work and do what we need to do. So thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Withrow, a second by Supervisor Buck-Condit. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to discussion item 8.2, we have a PowerPoint presentation by Mr. Lehman, and this is to the approval to consider and adopt a resolution of necessity to acquire real property and interest of real property by eminent domain for the North County corridor. Mr. Lehman, good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Condit and board members. Good morning. CEO Hayes, Council Bowes, good morning. We're here to, as you mentioned, consider resolutions of necessity for the North County Corridor project. These are the three property owners that we're going to be talking about today: the Bach Family Trust, Shirley and Christopher Winston, and the Gregory and Ellis Revocable Trust, Big Sky Investments. This morning's agenda, we'll talk briefly about the project description, overview of the process, and then a discussion of the individual properties. And here's the project. It goes from improving the corner of Oakdale and Clarabelle. Then you make a left-hand turn onto the new 4-lane alignment. There'll be an interchange at Roselle and new NCC. And then we go up and over the MID Canal, up and over the BNSF tracks, up and over Terminal, which that is a dangerous intersection. Had multiple accidents there, and by grade separating that intersection, it'll be much safer. and then lands at Claus Road, and then we taper back down to existing Clarabelle Road. First one is the Bach Family Trust, and their lot is a flag lot, and the house is on the very north side of the property. Part of the house will be under the asphalt of the eastbound lanes. Here you can see a close-up of it. You can see the house is, well, right there in the corner of the flag. Caltrans approved the CEQA NEPA environmental documents and route adoption on May 22, 2020. These actions confirmed the alignment 1B and created and improved the North County Corridor Project. The NCC project will improve the regional network circulation. It'll relieve existing traffic congestion, reduce traffic delay, and accommodate future traffic on State Route 108, support efficient movement of goods and services, and enhance traffic safety. The greatest public good and least private injury. Through rigorous environmental study and public outreach, the project has been designed to maximize the benefits to the public at large while minimizing impacts to private or property owners. A thorough analysis regarding the need for each property interest was conducted in the project's planning stages. The project team has worked diligently to minimize the need for property acquisitions. Alternative 1B is the alternative, which is planned and located in the manner that is most compatible with providing greatest public good and least private injury. Here are the key RON findings the board needs to make this morning if you choose to. The public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor Project, Phase 1, final EIR/EIS approved in May of 2020. Project is planned in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. The subject properties are necessary for the project. Offer has been made to the proper parcel owners to be acquired. And now the staff recommendations. Find that the public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor Project. Find that the project is planned or located in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. Find that the subject property, APN 083-002-034 Bach, described in the resolutions attached to the staff report, are necessary for the project. Find that the offer required by Section 7267.2 of the Government Code has been made to the parcel owners of the property to be acquired. Adopt the resolution of necessity in the form attached to the staff report as Attachment 1, and then authorize County Council to initiate eminent domain proceedings to acquire the subject property. And that is all I have, Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lehman. Does any board members have any questions or comments?
Just have one question.
All right, Vito.
So we are taking, if you go back to the picture, we're taking the whole property rather than just what was required. The required is in that peach color, correct?
Right, that is the offer on the table. It doesn't have access. Its legal access is part of the right-of-way or proposed right-of-way for North County Corridor, and it just will, that's the offer on the table.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't realize there was no access, so that's it's a whole take.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dave, for your report. Now, this particular property started off as just a partial take, but then because of the landlock, and Vito kind of stole my question, but we were going to landlock that piece of property, and now it's a full take.
Right, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I did forget to introduce Steven Silva from Nossaman. Arden wasn't able to come today, so Steven's my wingman today.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Okay. All right, seeing no further questions, we will open it up to the public. We do have a speaker card here from Mr. Gerald Brunn. Mr. Brunn, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, gentlemen. Mr. Lehman, thank you very much for your excellent presentation, thorough presentation. By the way, my name is Gerald Brunn, and I represent Mr. and Mrs. Bach. Some of you may recognize Dr. Bach. She's treated about every child in Stanislaus County at Gould Medical Foundation over the many decades during her career. My job, as I see it, is to assist you with a very difficult question. Public necessity versus private injury. I don't know how I'd sleep at night if I had to make these decisions, and you've been doing it. Thank you. more than just the 3 properties. Today, I realize that you've been making these decisions regarding many, many properties, and it takes some soul searching. As I see it, I can help you this morning by putting a face on the slides. We heard, and no disrespect to Mr. Lehman, but frankly, there's a lot of, it's almost like a lawyer drafted these darn PowerPoint slides. A lot of gobbledygook and legalese about a thorough analysis of this and a thorough analysis of that, and public need outweighs private injury. But what you don't see is Dr. Bach, who immigrated from the Philippines in 1967, and her husband, who immigrated from Nazi Germany, pardon me, not Nazi Germany, East Germany. And they came to this country not thinking that they would ever build a dream house and live in that dream house and raise a child in that house for 40 years, and then be told in their 80s that the Board of Supervisors is going to make a resolution to take your home. 40 years ago, they bought this property, 23 acres. They built a beautiful English Tudor-style home. None of that's on the slides. They raised their child, Selena, who now lives in Minnesota, and they're here alone. And they're told over the last several years by staff that they're going to have to leave their home. What the slides don't tell us is what is the, to quote Mr. Lehman, the thorough analysis that was the subject of their work to determine that 23 acres and a beautiful 3,200 square foot home has to go. I would suggest, gentlemen, that the decision on the resolution be delayed until staff can address this issue of what other alternatives are there. Did we consider moving the corridor just a little bit to the north or a little bit to the south? I don't see that on any of the slides or on any of the history of this project. So I would suggest that the private injury is immense in this case. And I feel badly for anybody who loses their home. But in this particular case, we have octogenarians who have contributed immensely to this community and who are being told to get out of their house, as Mr. Bach is suffering from severe health issues. So the thorough analysis, I would suggest, needs to be a little more thorough. And my question that has not been answered by the presentation today is, what did that thorough analysis consist of, and what other alternatives did you think about? So I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
Could I just ask a question of Dave too, because I wasn't on the North County Corridor study, along with, I think, Supervisor Withrow, you were, the mayors, when you talked about different routes in conjunction with Caltrans. Can you kind of talk about that process when it started?
Right. It was about 2010 and into 12 it really got kicked off. Through this section, there are 4 alternatives for North County Corridor. In this section between Modesto and Riverbank, all 4 alternatives were directly on top of each other. We had multiple public meetings. Some were attended, as I understand it, up to 300 people. It took us 8 years to do it, and in conjunction, all the agencies that were member agencies approved the alignment. And so Riverbank approved this alignment, Modesto approved this alignment, Oakdale approved this alignment, the county approved the alignment, and Caltrans approved the alignment. And through this reach, there was only one option. All 4 options were on top of each other because we're threading the needle through a semi-urban place, and there are going to be impacts, but these are the least impacts that the project team could find. And it was one that all the agencies bought off on, including all the cities.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Kerry?
And I'll just add on to this, as difficult as this is for everyone, there are really as Dave explained, we had, this has gone on for 10 years, at least 10 years that I've been involved in it. And we did have, try to have meetings everywhere, out in Oakdale, Riverbank, and in here, and trying to address everybody's needs, trying to figure out a route that would work. But it's just, there's not going to be 100% winners in this thing. Unfortunately, if it's not this route, then it's another route that will have another group of individuals who are upset, as upset as you guys are, I understand, and this is just a difficult decision for all of us to have to make, but it's not that we've targeted, like I said, there's no winners here as we go through this process. In order for us to get this road done, which is hopefully going to make things safer for everybody, easier to travel, it's just a tough process. And you know, if there's another route that everybody, and good, this is a long process, a 10-year process at least, that we went through to get to this point and to get to this route. If we hadn't chosen this route, we'd have another room full of individuals for the other route. One of the other options, 4 options that we had, at least 4 other options, multiple options. And so there's just, at some point we have to make the decision, we have to pull the trigger and say, okay, this is the least of the worst, basically, is what we're looking at. The least of the worst effects on everybody else. And unfortunately, this is the one that we've ended up with, or fortunately for the other individuals who didn't have to end up having to give up their property for this route. So I wish there was I guess we could just not do it. You know, we could just not do the project. And it's very much needed. So there's no question of the need for the project and the lives that it will save, and the more efficient to be able to get goods and services and out of here, the jobs that it will hopefully continue to provide, attract more businesses, but just in essence, basically try to keep businesses who provide jobs and livelihoods for individuals throughout this county. Keep them from leaving because we don't have infrastructure to get goods and services in and out of this county. I know that's not what you want to hear, and I totally understand that, but that's the reality of the decision process that we have to make, is to look at all of these things and try to figure out what's going to cause the least interruption in individuals' lives, but for the benefit of the whole is what we have to look at. So anyway, as hard as this is for everybody to have to do, we've put a lot of time and effort to get to this point, and I do support this what we finally come down to here, as hard as that is. So,
All right. Thank you for your comments, Terry. Buck?
Thank you, Chairman. And just a quick question, Dave. During this entire time, how many public meetings, if you have that information, that took place?
I believe there was one for every city, and I think there were, I'm not sure. Do you remember, Terry? 4 or 5, I think.
I just know it went on for 10 years, and we would have meetings here, I think, monthly for a while in these chambers, and then there were the meetings out on, like I said, out on site in the cities also.
Right, because that was all the joint power meetings also.
And I really couldn't say it any better than how Terry just explained it. It's probably one of the toughest decisions that this board has to consider. And I also support the decision, and I'll be making the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Is it? Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. All right. We have a motion by Supervisor Buck Condon and a second by Supervisor Chiesa. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. It passes unanimously, 5-0.
Next item is Winston. Here are the project limits. It's at New Clarabelle Road and Claus Road. This is a realignment of Clarabelle Road, and it does line up with the front entrance of the Riverbank Army Ammunition Plant, which is a big redevelopment project by the city of Riverbank. And we're proposing to purchase a piece of the back north part of the property for New Clarabelle, and then we're proposing to buy a bit of the east side of the lot to widen Claus Road. As previously mentioned, Caltrans approved the CEQA NEPA environmental document and route adoption on May 22, 2020. These actions confirmed the alignment 1B and created and improved the North County Corridor project. The NCC project will improve the regional network circulation. It'll relieve existing traffic congestion, reduce traffic delay, and accommodate future traffic on State Route 108. It supports efficient movement of goods and services, and it enhances traffic safety. Through rigorous environmental study and public outreach, the project has been designed to maximize the benefits to the public at large while minimizing impacts to private property owners. A thorough analysis regarding the need for each property interest was conducted in the project's planning stages. Project team has worked diligently to minimize the need for property acquisitions. Alternative 1B is the alternative which is planned and located in the manner that is most compatible with providing the greatest public good and least private injury. The key RON findings required today: that the public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor Project Phase 1, final EIR-EIS approved May 22nd, 2020. That the project was planned in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. The subject properties are necessary for the project, and the offer has been made to the parcel owners to be acquired. Staff recommends: find that the public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor Project. Find that the project is planned or located in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. Find that the subject property APN 075-023-023 Winstonson, described in the resolutions attached to the staff report, are necessary for the project. Find that the offer has been made required by Section 7267.2 of the Government Code. It has been made to the parcel owners of the properties to be acquired. Adopt a resolution of necessity in the form attached to the staff report as Attachment 1, and authorize County Council to initiate eminent domain proceedings to acquire the subject property.
Okay, do any board members have any questions or comments?
Dave, all negotiations are still ongoing and open.
That is correct, and this property did obtain a second appraisal. We agreed to pay their higher second appraisal, and that offer was rejected also.
Okay. But they're still ongoing.
Correct. We negotiate the whole way. We negotiate on the courthouse steps. We negotiate in the courthouse. We negotiate the whole time. We're looking for a resolution.
Okay, seeing no more questions or comments, we'll move it out to the public. Our first speaker on this item is Chris Winstonson. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. My name is Chris Winstonson, and I am the owner of the property in question here. I wanted to go on record that I am adamantly opposed to the current plan to route a new road through mine and my neighbors' properties. I do not feel that this part of the plan is in the public interest, nor is it necessary with the creation of the new expressway. Now, I'm not objecting to the whole plan. The North Corridor is an excellent idea. The piece I am objecting to is the piece that goes from the entrance to the ammo plant through my, that map right there, through my backyard, property, pasture, through several others, curves down, and through splitting up one of my other neighbors' properties down there. I contend that that piece of the puzzle is unnecessary as it is and is not in the public interest. Also, let me state that contrary to your notes, the county's representative has not made a market value offer for my property, which is one of the reasons I'm here today. As I know, I'm not allowed to talk about prices and property valuations. I'll restrict my comments to the requested topic of how some specific pieces of this project, namely the road cutting through my and several of my neighbors' properties, is not necessary and not in the public interest. It is not compatible with the greatest public good and least private injury. According to your representative's documentation, there will be 3,300 additional vehicles going through this intersection and using this winding country road every business day. That is going to create significant traffic flow problems from the very first day it is open. Issues related to that vehicle count are the entrance to the ammo plant will fill up and have cars backed up in several different directions with that intersection and that plan. As an example, 2 big rigs and a couple of cars will fill up the queue from Claus Road to the security shack where all vehicles must check in. This will severely impact traffic. As I have observed, it takes between 30 seconds and a minute and a half for a vehicle to be allowed through or past that guard shack. These traffic issues will get worse as the former ammunition plant expands operations and generates even more traffic. Traffic flow problems will begin immediately when this new road and intersection are opened. It is not in the general interest of the public. In fact, it is exactly the opposite. It will be immediately detrimental to all traffic using this new intersection and new road. Additionally, it will be detrimental to all taxpayers within Stanislaus County and the state of California. That is definitely not for the public good. Adding a new road will require future maintenance, adding to the already overworked county and Caltrans employees doing road maintenance. Again, not a solution for the greatest public good. As I've given this much thought, I would propose the following. Change the course. Don't build a winding road through our pastures, and don't build a signal-controlled intersection at the current entrance to the former ammunition plant. As an alternative, expand the intersection of Menier, the next block up, the next street up from this proposed site, and Menier Avenue and Claus Road to include a new entrance to the former ammo plant. This would solve the queuing problem, as this scenario, you could have up to 6 big rigs go into the parking lot and it would not back up traffic and impede traffic flow. Give Menier Avenue the repaving it needs, which should cost substantially less than building a new road through our pastures. Add turn lanes and stop signs or signals as needed at Terminal and Menier Avenue. This was less intrusive than a road through our pastures and much more cost effective. I contend that this is in the public's best interest and will be a solution for the greatest public good. Use Menier Avenue, an existing road. Minimal property acquisitions are needed, no pipelines to move, minimal fencing to replace. This greatly minimizes traffic flow problems and enhances traffic flow into and out of the former ammunition plant. And it saves taxpayers substantial sums of money, perhaps millions of dollars. In summary, the current plan to add a road through my and my neighbor's pastures and add an intersection at the current entrance of the former ammunition plant is not in the best interest of the public. It injures several local property-owning, tax-paying voters. An easy to implement alternative using Menier Avenue and putting a 4-way intersection at the corner of Claus and Menier is in the public's interest for several reasons, which I've already stated. I would respectfully ask that this section of the Highway 108 project be revised prior to invoking eminent domain. In conclusion, I would like to ask you this question. Which of you would willingly sell 20% of your land, be it acreage or a one-home lot, for 28 to 41% of its actual value? As I'm sure none of you would jump at that opportunity, why are you asking or perhaps demanding that I do exactly that? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other members of the public who wish to comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the... Do you want to comment, sir? Okay. Please come up and state your name.
My name is Anthony Garcia. I live at 3854 Davis Road. And this road is going right next to my house. We own 3812 and 3854, and the property that they're taking is the outside edge of 3812, which is right next to my house. So you guys are going to, how many cars is going to be coming down that road? I live right here, and the road's going to be right here. The end of this street's going to be a cul-de-sac, so I can't go that way. Neither can my neighbors. So we need to go this way to go to work, and all these cars, how many cars are supposed to be going down this street? Over 3,000? Up to 30,000 vehicles without a stop sign going right next to my house. There's got to be another route. And meetings, I mean, I've been to one meeting that I've known about. Even today, I didn't even get a letter that this was going on today. Never received a letter. I'm asking council, you guys, to please relocate this road. Something better than what it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Is there anyone else in attendance who'd like to comment? Ma'am? Just please state your name.
My name is Charlona Baker. I have
You
the
could pull that
property
down if
next
you want.
door.
Charlotte. There you go.
My name is Charlona Baker. I have the property next door to Incensins and between Riberos. I'm probably the least affected by this move. They're acquiring approximately a half acre of my property at the back of a pasture, but I'm giving up I'm giving up privacy, I'm giving up security, and I'm going to be impacted by noise. The project manager came out to my property when this was first given to me, and I said, if my husband were alive today, he could look at this pasture and he could say, a half acre is from here to here. I don't have that ability. So he kindly brought a survey team out, and they surveyed the property. It's a good chunk of property, number one. All of us have equipment and tools and things to maintain this type of property, and my security, now that I've lost my husband, is that if somebody were to try to enter my property and get into my equipment, they would have to carry or transport across two pastures or right next to my house to get anything off of my property. So my security is gone from that standpoint, because I've always thought nobody's going to want to drag a huge piece of equipment across two pastures. There's other places they can steal stuff and make it a lot easier. My privacy is affected. The noise level is affected. I can sit on my patio and I can hear cows fart in the next pasture. What's going to happen with cars zipping up and down this road? What's going to happen with not being able to exit, like Chris said, from one end of our property? We're going to have to go out one direction the whole time. We're going to sit at a stop sign while all these cars go through this byway. And what about the people that are going to turn right onto our street thinking that that's the access? And then 3 properties are impacted by people turning around in our driveways, turning around on our berms. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't expect to get rich off of this project, but I think everyone should be, if this is going to end up being the final plan, everybody should be compensated properly. And we all did get second opinion appraisals, which were better than the one provided to us by the state. And I think, you know, it's up to each individual to decide whether or not they're comfortable with what that appraisal was. Initially, we were told we were going to be responsible but not pay for replacing our fencing and our irrigation line. I can't tell you how many hours I spent on the phone trying to find somebody who was willing to move the fence and move irrigation. It finally came down to the state or whoever saying, oh, forget it, we'll move it because you can't get it done. It just doesn't make any sense. the traffic, the privacy, the security, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
Can I just ask a question again on the other ones we've done? Has there been any discussion, because I've never heard that the state was refusing to move a fence or a pipeline?
That's the county. So because it is hard to find a contractor right now,
Okay.
that's why we took out the cost of relocating the fence and the irrigation line, and that's now contract work for our future contractor, whoever that will be. And that's for that whole string, those 3 properties there.
Okay. Number one. Number two, how much money do we, on a second appraisal, how much money are we allocated? Does it have to stay under?
Oh, $5,000 is what state and federal law says we can reimburse.
$5,000. And has everyone taken us up on the secondary appraisal? Not everyone?
Not everyone.
Okay. What's the zoning on this parcel?
It's ag.
Ag zoning. And do you know the difference offhand between the first appraisal and the second appraisal, the difference?
I just looked today. It was quite a bit. I want to say it was $40,000 or $50,000. I think ours was 60, and I think theirs was right around 100.
But it's still based on the underlying zoning.
Right. Different comparables is what Cogdill found. That was who did their appraisal.
Good deal. Okay. That's it. No more questions.
Dave, can you just give a brief explanation of why this route and not the other route down Menier, where if you recall?
Right. There's a lot more things between Menier and Clarabelle, and so the least impact was to bring new local Clarabelle through this area. We were able to split property lines instead of buying houses for the most part along this realigned Clarabelle. One of the benefits I haven't mentioned is we are going to have bike access along here, and peds will be able to use the wide shoulder and bike path. And there it's not safe to do on existing Clarabelle. The shoulders are too narrow, and there is a lot more traffic on current Clarabelle than will be on this Clarabelle.
Where are we going to be selling when this is all over?
Yeah.
Same zoning.
Sir, yeah, sir, we had an opportunity for public comment. All right, Terry?
Yeah, just real quick. So I know that it was mentioned, gentlemen, I think mentioned Menier. And if you just, I mean, like I said, it's just the path of least resistance, I guess, is what we have to look at. And if you look at Menier, at least, I mean, there are so many cutouts there, meaning so many driveways, so many residents affected, so many more residents affected than taking this route. Again, that's just all the things that we looked at. As hard as this is for everybody, I mean, we're trying to have the least effect on the most amount of people that this is going to affect, and we're trying to make it something that doesn't. And this is the route that ended up being the best and the least, the path of least resistance, the path of least amount of individuals affected to make this thing work. So we move it over to Menier, and then we've got so many more individuals affected by this now that would be sitting right where you guys are, saying the same thing. So it's not that we haven't looked at this and really tried to study and find a spot that will affect the least amount of people. So again, I know that doesn't help you guys, but that's what we're up against as we try to do this. So,
Dave, could we, if the road did come out at Menier, there was a suggestion to change the entrance to the Riverbank ammunition plant. Could you force Riverbank to move their entrance over there?
No.
So potentially trucks have to make a right-hand turn, left-hand turn lane,
right,
and have essentially the same issue. Butting it up with a traffic signal actually allows through access. Yeah, it is these are difficult decisions, and, you know, what works best for one neighbor maybe doesn't work best for the other. But if we start with the principles of the least harm for the public good, if you start with that process, you draw out maps, and then you start looking at overall cost benefit, because we have to meet pretty strict requirements, and there are impacts. There's no doubt about it. So I keep looking at Linear 2. If the road had a sweeping curve, because you need enough room, straight room before you hit Claus Road there, you end up taking out another residence, and you end up with the same issues, maybe on a greater scale. So, again, that's all I can say. There are difficult decisions everywhere.
I will look for board action.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Buck Condit, a second by Supervisor Manning Graywall. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It passes unanimously 5-0. Moving on to number 4, Mr. Lehman.
The next one is the Ellis Trust Big Sky LLC. There we go. This one is across from the Crossroads Shopping Center, and we're proposing to buy the southern portion, or a bit of the southern portion of that lot. That's a Big Sky property. There's a closer look at it. It's 2554 Clareball Road. And then the Ellis property's common ownership is the northern portion of that lot. One of the complications with this right-of-way acquisition is we're going to proposing to pay for relocation of solar panels and provide enough funds to reconstruct their existing irrigation pond. You can see it kind of in the northwest corner of that lot. There's a closer look at it. You can see the irrigation basin a little bit closer. Project approvals to date. Caltrans approved the CEQA NEPA environmental documents and route adoption on May 22nd, 2020. These actions confirmed the alignment 1B and created and approved the North County Corridor project. The public interest and necessity. The NCC project will improve the regional network circulation, will relieve existing traffic congestion, reduce traffic delay, and accommodate future traffic on State Route 108. Supports efficient movement of goods and services, and it enhances traffic safety. Through rigorous environmental study and public outreach, the project has been designed to maximize the benefits to the public at large while minimizing impacts to private property owners. A thorough analysis regarding the need for each property interest was conducted in the project's planning stages. Project team has worked diligently to minimize the need for property acquisitions. Alternative 1B is the alternative, which is planned and located in the manner that is most compatible with providing the greatest public good and least private injury. The key findings the board is being requested to make. Public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor Project Phase 1, the final EIS approved on May 22nd, 2020. The project is planned in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. The subject properties are necessary for the project, and the offer has been made to the parcel owners to be acquired. Staff recommends for these two properties, find that the public interest and necessity require the North County Corridor project. Find that the project is planned or located in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. Find that the subject properties, APN 083, 002, 031, 041, and 042, Gregory and Karen Ellis Revocables Trust, and the Big Sky Investments 3 LLC, described in the resolutions attached to the staff report, are necessary for the project. Find that the offer required by Section 7267.2 of the Government Code has been made to the parcel owners of the properties to be acquired. Adopt a resolution of necessity in the form attached to the staff report as Attachment 1, and authorize County Council to initiate eminent domain proceedings to acquire the subject property.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, we will open it up to the public. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Graywall, second by Supervisor Condit. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. Moving on to correspondence.
This board has received the claims and correspondence as noted on the agenda.
Acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Are there any Board of Supervisor reports? Terry?
Just real quick, we made a road trip down to Los Angeles, a group of about 10 individuals, to visit Homeboy Industries, which is an organization that was run by and started by Father Greg Boyle, that is to help rescue gang members as they come out of prison or before they go to prison, to get out of the gangs and get their lives back and become productive in society. And second time we've been down there, went there about 6 years ago with the intent to try to start something like that here in our county. It's been that long since we've we think we finally are to a point where we might be ready to do this and have some individuals and organizations that might be able to be a part of this, to do a similar organization, similar programs here in our county. It's all about, all our programs, everything is about rehabilitation, and it seems like the most successful organizations at rehabilitation of individuals from gangs or individuals coming out of prison are people with lived experience working with those individuals. And it's unbelievable the success that they've had down there. As we went through this place, Father Boyle started this years ago when he was a parish priest right kind of in ground zero in Los Angeles, where the gang violence between the Bloods and the Crips and all these things that were going on down there. And said he was burying young men and women daily, and decided he needed to do something about this. So he started to try to figure out a way to get these kids, they're basically kids, to get them to do anything besides the gangs. And so he set up this organization that actually has jobs for these individuals. They're just, it's a bakery, there's a food, they sell, do lunches and things like that, and then they have clothing. And anyway, it's grown to it has a budget of $30 million a year right now. Of that $30 million, about 30% of it, about $9 million of it, is funded by sales that organization does itself. The rest of it is through fundraising and federal and state funding that come to try to help with what they're doing there. And so anyway, we received a tour just like we did 6 years ago. The tour is with ex-gang members who are, and everybody is tatted up. They have tattoo removals there. They have all kinds of counseling. They pay everybody when they first come there. They put them on the payroll. And so they have a job right off the bat. And then they work on trying to, it's about an 18-month program is what it is. And so they work to try to get these individuals to realize that the gang is not their family, and not a family that will take care of them. And Homeboy Industry becomes their family. And they have a lot of individuals that are on rival gangs that are working right next to each other. And so the guy who took us around, and Ruben was there with me, and we had our public defender was there. We had individuals from the DA's office. Wendell was from DA's office, Stephanie from the probation department, I think. And I'm trying to think who else I missed that was there. Michael Baldwin was there. And so we had a bunch of individuals, a lot of people, some drove, some flew commercially, and I was able to get my brother-in-law, John Marion, to fly some of us privately in his plane to get us down there and back the same day. And it's just amazing. The individual that took us around had been shot, I think, 4 times, and couldn't use his arm at that point. Just a young kid. And then there was another individual that Ruben and I got a chance to talk to. Just amazing to sit here and talk to this individual. His name was Arnold, and he had been recently connected with Homeboy Industries. He'd been in jail for 13 years in state prison for murder. He was out. He said the main goal for him when he got out during his 13 years while he was in prison, all he thought about was how he was going to kill the guy who was responsible for him going to prison. Not that he's not responsible for murdering somebody, but the guy who probably fingered him and got him to go to prison. And that was his main goal. When I got out, I'm going to kill that guy, and then I don't care what happens to me. That's what he told us. And so he got involved in homeboy industry and lost that anger and got to more of a grace spot, you know, through what they teach at Homeboy Industries. Now he's raising his son. He's got a 7-year-old son that you wonder how he did that 13 years in prison, but conjugal visits is how that works with his wife. And he has a 7-year-old son that he's spends, that's his main concern, is raising his son. So it's amazing what these guys are doing down there and how important it is to change a community. And sorry, I'm going a long time here, but we got done earlier today.
Yeah.
So if we can do the same thing here, and not only is it just from the humanitarian side, as you change somebody's life, and that there's just a multiplier effect on how it affects other people's lives, but then from a fiscal standpoint, the money that we can spend and rehabilitate these individuals will come back to us tenfold as far as savings for our taxpayers and programs and things that we're doing right now to deal with these individuals. So there's a lot of promise in this, and I'm looking for a lot of good things to come from it. I think we're to a point where we're ready to do this. I think we've got the potential for funding. This is just my opinion that we can get there, and of course it takes everybody here on this board to agree with that, but I think we're in a spot where we have funding available through AB 109 and money that has come to us in the CCP for specifically this reason, you know, to specifically be used for this reason, to help these individuals coming from state prisons and getting them back into society. So, anyway, great trip. I would encourage you all, those websites, you can go look on Homeboy Industries, look it all up. And what they're doing there, hopefully we can replicate here. So
That's awesome,
that's
Terry.
a long
Thank you
report.
so much. We sincerely appreciate your leadership and taking the charge on that. But try to top that one.
That's going to be hard. Mine's not going to be as long, I can tell you that. Last Friday, I got to represent the board at the drug court graduation. It was a great program. It was impressive to hear how Daniel had to jump all through the hoops to get to his graduation, and how probation stuck right by his side and helped him through that process. It was great to hear his stories and how he overcame that addiction, and how he is going to help others get to that point. So it was great to represent the board in that area.
Thank you, Buck. Okay. Moving on to legislative, fiscal, and management report, CEO Hayes.
Just a quick update. Not a lot going on in Sacramento right now. However, there was an announcement this week that the state is targeting up to $400 million in additional funding to help support the healthcare workforce throughout the entire state. So this has implications for not just our health services agency, but also for behavioral health and many of the areas in which we struggle to find adequate staffing and so forth. This is a long-term concept, trying to get more folks into that workforce and prepared and with the appropriate certifications. So that was good news. We'll see what the details are when they come out, and we'll report back.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, we do have closed session. Mr. Bose?
Yes, we have closed session this morning. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D1. We have 6 cases today. They're all listed there in the agenda, and it would be appropriate for public comment right now.
Okay, no public comment. I do want to acknowledge our representatives from the congressional office. I apologize. Lapse of mind. Do you have anything to report, gentlemen, before we move on? Just real quickly. Mr. Phelan, good to see you. Sorry for skipping over you guys. I apologize.
No problem. For Congressman McClintock and John Duarte, Congressman John Duarte, we just want to say we've both been in this area for 1 month, and so we want to make sure we're going to get to see all of you. Just to let you know that Congressman Duarte beat us out first. He got his office in Turlock. We will be looking for an office in Modesto because this county is obviously important. And I'm happy to see this North County corridor. I've been dealing with that for 12 years, so thank you for taking action on that. And just want to say we look forward to meeting all of you and just having a chance to talk and sit down and discuss issues that are part of our constituents. So thank you.
Bob, where's the office in Turlock?
Where's the office in Turlock?
It's
going to be right off.
Come on up. Yeah, come on and give your report real quick.
I threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Thanks for being here, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Communications Director for Congressman John Duarte. So to answer your question, it's going to be off of Main Street, 90 South First Street, so South First Street in Turlock. And I just had just a quick few updates on what Congressman Duarte is doing in D.C. So recently, he and Congressman Valadeo, and it was co-sponsored by Congressman McClintock also, introduced the Water for California Act, and it provides more water to the Valley Farms. It increases funding for the Shasta enlargement process. So as you know, California is not the best when it comes to storing water. For example, 95% of the water from the recent storm, it actually went to the ocean. So this bill helps, or goes a long way to correcting that issue. And we're also working hard with FEMA right now to rebuild communities in Merced and Stanislaus County. And so also, last thing, Congressman Duarte had his first Transportation and Infrastructure Committee hearing, and they discussed highway expansion, because obviously we have a lot of commuters who go to the Bay. So we talked about potholes and highway expansion and how to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck from the recent Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So I will keep you guys updated. Oh, next time it's going to be Kriston, keeping you guys updated on what he's doing in D.C.
Okay. Tell the congressman bring home the bacon.
Sounds good.
All right. I want to thank Deputy Crowley for watching over us this morning. We are going to adjourn into closed session. It is 10:31.